guys, welcome to the Homestead. So today we're going to talk about the recent expo I went to. It was the OZARK's Homesteading Expo up in Marshfield, Missouri. Had a fantastic time. Got to see a whole bunch of old faces and got to meet a whole bunch of new faces, and just a great time all around. And I really enjoy going to some of the talks there and meeting people. It was I think a lesser crowd this year than in years past. That may have been partly because of the weather. It was kind of cloudy. It did rain a little bit on Friday. So, but my tent in the morning was pretty much packed, and so that was fine. But I think there was just a little bit lesser of a crowd this year, and I wanted to talk about that today. We're going to talk about a couple things. Number one, we're going to talk about that and give you some perspective maybe on why that might be happening in the broader homestead community. But also talk about a couple of other things. Livestock guardian dogs, and also because the thing that I found most fascinating, and this is because one of you guys sent me an email asking about this topic of tortillas and how they're made. We'll get to that in a second. So before we get into that, so here is Natural Grandma. This guy, I've talked to him. I've met him in years past, and he usually goes to some of these homesteading conferences, and he sells homemade chicken tractors, and they're really well made with metal. And I got to sit with him for a few minutes. Wish I could always visit with him some more, but naturalgrandma.com is where you can find his chicken tractors. I asked him, I said, it's a little bit lesser crowd this year. And he said, yeah. He said, and I think he was kind of going along the lines, and I may agree with him. I'll see what your input is here. The people who have gotten into homesteading, the people who are going to get into homesteading have already gotten into homesteading. That's kind of it right there. And he says he's having a hard time moving any more of these chicken tractors, which they used to sell pretty well, but people now are just looking for pets. They're looking at it as a hobby or something. But people who have wanted to get into homesteading for the reasons that most of us got into homesteading, and why is that? Food is a big one. Safety for families is a big one. Having the ability to have liberty and freedom still is a big one, because you don't have a lot. When you're living in a more rural area, you have the ability to grow your own food in the way you want. You have the ability to not have these ordinances and regulations and zoning, so you can build the kind of buildings you want on your homestead. The crime is less in lower population density areas. All of these things and more are some of the reasons why a lot of us have gotten into homesteading. And you look around at the cities today, and there's just no population left in these places to fix the problems that these cities are facing. And these are one of the reasons why I've talked about this before on my channel. You're not going to fix these cities. You can't, because there's not enough good people there to vote their way out of this mess they're in. Which is why we have resulted to the point of putting the military on streets of cities like Chicago and other places in D.C. That's why that's in the discussion, the public discussion arena right now, because that's the only way you're going to stop this crime. Look at Charlotte, North Carolina the other day. I mean, we are getting to the point of complete insanity in these places. And again, there's not enough good people left. Everyone who's left has already left. Anyone who could leave you get while the getting's good, is the way the saying goes. And people have got. They have gone. So I think my opinion is, and again, you can leave your comments below on this. Those who have left those who are going to leave have already left, and there's no way to fix this. And so the people who have gotten into homesteading, who have seen the danger, saw it years ago, and have been working their way over the last 6 to 10 years, 6 to 12 years, whatever, and they're gone. They've already gotten their homesteads, and now they're working on establishing these things. And the only people who are left, we're running out of, people are running out of customers for chicken tractors and other things like that for homesteading. They've already attended all these conferences. They've gotten the education. They've heard Joel Salatin speak, a dozen times or more. We understand these things. And so those people are well on their way of establishing their arks. I like to think of it in terms of Noah's Ark, a safe place, right? They're establishing that. They're doing that. They're already there. And the remainder of people are in it for hobbies. And there's some people who are still coming out, and some people who are still, but it's slowed down to a trickle. I think people, for the most part, who are switched on have recognized the danger and are gone. What do you think? I'm interested to hear your thoughts. Second thing I want to talk about is Greg Judy. I got to enjoy his talk on livestock guardian dogs at the conference, and he is of the opinion, he is much more knowledgeable than I, so I'm not going to dispute him, that there are really two breeds out there that are perfect for livestock guardian dogs. And I've always said that if I was going to get a livestock guardian dog, which I am planning on doing here at some point, it would be a Great Pyrenees, and he is anti-Great Pyrenees. He does like some Anatolian mixes, or Anatolian, but I'm not that because I think they're too aggressive. But his two top favorite livestock guardian dogs, one I had never heard before, and that is the Armenian Gamper. Armenian Gamper, and Gamper is spelled Gampr, I think. Gampr. So Armenian Gamper, and then the second one is the Maremma. The Maremma livestock guardian dog. And it is, I believe, an Italian dog. And the Maremma is very well suited for, both of these are very well suited for homesteads and for sheep guarding and for just livestock guardian, being livestock guardians in general. And so we are probably going to move down the road of the Maremma. And I asked him about a full-blood Maremma because there are some for sale. And he said those are fantastic dogs. Even if they're full-blooded or mixes, they're great dogs. And so we are moving down that path to get that, and I'm looking forward to it. So when that happens, I'll bring you all along for that ride and that journey. The third thing I want to talk about, and this is something I found very fascinating, because I didn't know the answer to it. And when things come up in my life that I don't know the answer to, especially when it comes to things I'm passionate about, I try to research them. And so this is about food. So I got an email the other day from a viewer. I wasn't sure if it's a patron or not, but it was from Claire. And without reading the whole email to you, she was interested in this whole thing of calcium hydroxide in tortillas. Now, if you don't know what that is, most people, when they make their own tortillas, most people will go to the store, buy that bag of masa, and then they'll make tortillas from that flour in that bag of masa. And it contains basically flour and just hydrated lime, which is calcium hydroxide. And hydrated lime and calcium hydroxide are the same thing. There's no way to find this organically, okay? It's not an organic process to how this is made. Calcium hydroxide is made by taking limestone, or hydrated lime, is made by taking limestone, heating it up to release CO2, I believe, and then adding water back to it in order to create the powder that is then hydrated lime or calcium hydroxide. Same thing, just two different names. And then they use that in the flour making process. And she was concerned because she doesn't really want to use this. Is there a way to get organic? As far as my searching results, and so this started me on a path of figuring this out. I don't see a way you can get organic calcium hydroxide. It's going to go through a chemical process to get this done or made, or some sort of processing to get done or made. It's not something you find organically in nature or natural. But whenever I encounter things like this, if you've been watching me long enough, you know, I'm like, how did they do this before? Obviously, people have been making tortillas for eons. How did they make them before? They didn't have limestone they could heat up and then cool down and then add water to and go through whatever process it takes to get this hydrated lime. What did they do before? And there was a couple at this expo. It's called Piece of Earth Farmstead. And they did a demonstration on tortillas. And my main question, I was going to go there and see what they said. My main question at that demonstration was like, hey, how did people do this before? And they showed me. I didn't even have to ask the question. They basically showed me. I did ask some questions to clarify. But the way they did this is they took corn, okay, dent corn, grain corn, not like sweet corn, but dent corn, people in like the Southwest and in Mexico and all these places. And all they did was they took ash, wood ash, and they boiled the corn in the water and wood ash. And that process basically strips off the skins of the corn, releases the B vitamins, and releases the oils. And so you need nothing else, nothing to make your tortillas except that. And then once they take the corn and then they wash all the ash off after it's boiled for I don't know how many minutes, 15 minutes or whatever it was. And they have a website. I'll put that down below. And you wash off the corn and then you grind it in a grinder, which grinds it into like a mush, and because it's been boiled. And then that's all you need to make your tortillas. That's it. They use a cast iron tortilla maker. There's no oils, there's no salt, there's nothing else added. It's got everything in the corn needed to make that tortilla, make it pliable, and make it just like the store-bought ones with the calcium hydroxide and the hydro lime, whatever. That's it. I was fascinated. I was absolutely fascinated. And so I did ask them, can you recommend some good corn varieties? They have some things on their website. I'll link down below if you're interested in this process. It's called the nixtamalization process. And that's what they use today. They use calcium hydroxide to achieve this nixtamalization, I believe I'm pronouncing that correctly, process for these corn kernels. Whereas before, the old timers, the people who did this for eons, they just used wood ash, which everyone had because everyone had fires. That's how you cook things. So you had the ash and you had the corn. And that's how you made your tortillas. That's it. I just found that absolutely fascinating. I love learning things. Thank you, Claire, for sending in that email because it sent me on a path to search things out I did not know before. And I love learning about how you make food without all of the stuff that people make food with today. It's mind-bogglingly, it's almost impossible to get away from today. But if you just do a little bit of research and you ask the right person, you can learn about how things used to be done and why we're probably so sick today as a culture. And why all these things are in our food. Because you can't find tortilla mix today without calcium hydroxide or hydrated lime in it. It's the same thing. It's just two different words, but two different words for the same thing. You can't find it. Find it. I can't see it. And a lot of recipes, actually call for adding calcium hydroxide to your recipe. Why? I have a wood stove, so I have wood ash. I can get it anytime I want. I can make corn tortillas without anything else, just with the wood ash. So I found that fascinating. Leave a comment below if you also find that fascinating. I'm going to leave a link to the Piece of Earth Farmstead down below. She has a video up at that showing that process, and then she also has an article reclaiming corn. And I found that absolutely fascinating. If you're interested in doing this and getting access to some corn varieties, that would be, because most of the varieties of corn out there are GMO and they're all messed up. You can still find varieties that are pure. And one of the other things, let me just leave you with this before we go, real quick. She said, and I think her and her husband both said, that if for some reason you grow corn and you're worried about foreign pollen from GMO crops coming into your corn, they say you can easily determine that kernel right then and there when you peel that corn. So what happens is that corn will be, that kernel will look different than all the other kernels. So if you get a piece of pollen that flies in from a mile away from a GMO crop and it lands on your corn silk and fertilizes that corn kernel, it will be distinguished from all the other corn kernels. It does not take a whole season for that to show up. You will see it right away that season, and you pluck that kernel out and you get rid of it. And you can still keep your other corn because they're pure. Okay? I found that also very fascinating. So don't let anyone tell you that your stuff's going to get corrupted and you won't know about it until next season when you grow. No, you will know it right away. When you peel back that cob and you see those kernels and one or two are different than all the others, you know that those kernels can be chucked and thrown away. I found that very fascinating as well. Leave a comment below. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Check out that link below over at Piece of Earth Farmstead. And let me know if you attended the event, what you like best, and if you would like to continue to go to these things. And whether or not you think maybe homesteading's on the downturn. Has everybody who wants to get into this gotten into it already? Let me know your thoughts on that below. All right. Love you guys. Oh, also, Feast of Tabernacles, the shirt over at Sanctified Supply. It's coming up. The Feast of Tabernacles is coming up, also called Sukkot, for those of you who partake. If you want to get interested, if you're interested in these shirts, Feast of Tabernacle shirts, I have a, that's if I can see that kind of whole thing right there too. I'll leave a link down below for that as well. You can click on that and go over to Sanctified Supply. They make all of our shirts, all of our Stupid Shit Hurt shirts, our Farm Fresh Butt Nugget shirts. All of our shirts can be purchased over there at sanctifiedsupply.com. I'll leave a link below. All right, love you guys. See you next time at the Homestead. Bye. Have you ever gone to a health food store and seen all those small bottles of probiotics in your cooler section? Man, can they be pricey. Are you really getting all you need to improve your gut health from those expensive bottles? How viable are they? Most of those products claim to give you between 8 and 15 strains of gut-healthy healing bacteria. Think of each strain of bacteria as a different factory in your gut. Each factory is responsible for breaking down that food in its own way. The more factories you have, the more the food is broken down and the easier the food is absorbed and digested by the body. A 2018 study published by the National Library of Medicine shows that one fermented head of cabbage can produce up to 114 strains of beneficial bacteria. That's a lot more food factories than you're getting from that expensive pill bottle. And that's just cabbage. Imagine the probiotics when you add garlic, onions, pepper, and more to that ferment. PerfectPickler.com and its home fermentation kits provide you with everything you need to get started making your own gut-healthy food factories from the comfort of your own kitchen. PerfectPickler.com even provides a jam-packed recipe book with many of our kits. Visit PerfectPickler.com and start fermenting your own veggies to begin your journey to better gut health. That's PerfectPickler.com.
Hey guys, did you know you can become a patron of an American Homestead? They get access to private videos, and we send them gifts from the homestead that we make here on the homestead. And we also enter our patrons into special giveaways that are only available to them. And before you go, please check out these other great videos. Go ahead, click. I'll wait.